what do we do when we see something? If I see a painting in a gallery I love, I get closer. And I think that's, really what we do, what I'm doing here. It's getting closer. Don't be shy. And where the lack of confidence comes in is in the idea that I might tell myself that what I see and the design I've been trying to draw out in this painting is not strong or not what somebody else would value. While I was working on this series of waterfall paintings, I want to just talk a little bit about some of the other things that were going on with me at the time, because it really factored into my thought process as I was painting. I was thinking a lot about a conversation I overheard on Facebook where artists were talking about the privilege of having the ability to paint with wild abandon. And what the conversation was that the really gifted artists can just paint intuitively and just let the paint fly, but the rest of us have to work a little harder and to develop our design. So that was one conversation that I had been mulling over and thinking about. And then I've been carrying around with me as well a juried selection that I was a part of a year or two ago, where I shared my work with a jury of more accomplished artists. They had fancier signatures after their name, abbreviations, and I had received feedback. I hadn't been accepted for the thing I was applying for, and then I received feedback from one of the jurors about my paintings, and it was actually, that particular feedback was actually really helpful. For the most part, she was very supportive of my more experimental work, which was a wonderful vote of confidence. But also, there was a point at which one of my paintings, I remember her pointing out something that she felt like was a design weakness. And that particular area of the painting, when I looked at it, I saw something that I very intentionally wanted to be a quality of the design. That thing that she was pointing out as being, distracting or wrong or whatever. And so I stood by that area of the painting. I was actually not gonna change it because she didn't think it was, well designed. But I've been carrying around this idea that people are looking at my work from a design standpoint and they are seeing weaknesses. And so that is something I've been working to, understand value and value contrasts and think about how the eye travels through the painting. And these are all things I teach and I'm always working toward. But I also think that they're a little bit of, what's the phrase, an albatross around my neck. They're dragging me down just a little bit. And because I think that this idea of design being superior, preeminent in what our thought process should be regarding our art, I think that can be a limitation. I think it can be a limitation because we can tell ourselves, like I often tell myself, that we are not good at design, that we don't have a good handle on value contrasts or all of the things that make strong design happen. We can tell ourselves that this is a weak area and have almost an expectation that that is not going to be easily solved or maybe solved at all. And so I can just feel limited by the fact that I don't really trust myself to be able to navigate through my painting and create something that has impact in terms of design. And the other side of that is, how often does design always matter? And that's the other question that I would have to ask. And, one reason I stood by that painting that was critiqued as having that weakness was because that particular area where I had a strong edge in a place she didn't think a strong edge should be, that edge was important to me because it said something about the environment. It was like a piece of a cloud and it was coming down over the hill, and it was impactful in a way that told the story of what was happening in the scene. And it spoke to me about my region, which, as it so happens, is a region that artist isn't familiar with. She lives somewhere else. And so here I am, standing by my painting because I know this environment and I know the story I wanted to tell. And if it was criticized from a design standpoint by that other artist, Well, it would have been interesting to hear what others had to say about that painting. Just, if I had assembled this group of jurors and they all walked through, would they all have seen the same thing? Would they have been unanimous? I don't get to know that. I do know that when art is evaluated, it's extremely subjective. And then the other part of the story, my little dog just showed up. And the other part of the story is design isn't always as important as those other messages we want to communicate. Like I said, it said something about my environment that was more important to me than having some kind of harmonious meeting of the edges or whatever it was that it needed there. And so this week, as I was painting this frozen waterfall, a couple things were going on. One is that I was teaching a couple of Zoom workshops, and I'm teaching about process. And I am teaching about composition and design. I'm talking about how the eye navigates through the painting and how we let go of non-essentials so that we can strengthen our design. I'm teaching as a designer with some authority. And yet I'm also carrying around a secret conviction that I'm not very good at design. And then I shared a painting on social media and someone questioned the design. And so then I was coming not just to my Zoom class, but to my own painting practice with, this person questioned my design. Was that a confirmation of the thing that I believe, that maybe I'm secretly not very good at design and maybe I never will be? And you know what that secret conviction does for my painting? Nothing. It weakens my ability to paint intuitively and paint from my heart. Because where does design come from? Who decided what made a good design? And design principles and artistic principles have been developed because there is a bit of a consensus, and it's not universal because otherwise we would all be wearing Star Trek uniforms and look exactly the same, and that's not the case. But we do have ideas about what looks good, what colors look good together, what shapes need to be combined, how things should flow, and what pleases our eyes. There is some consensus, but it's not universal. I'm not buying the art my parents or grandparents bought. I have my own tastes. And maybe some of those design principles are echoed even as the style of the art changes. But design comes from human tastes. And we look for a unity in human tastes. And we say that's a design principle. And if design principles have been developed based on human tastes, and the fact that there are some consistencies there, then should I not be able to trust my taste and not be thinking about those darn rules so much? I think so. I think it really becomes then a fact that we carry taste inside of us. We have an appetite for what we think looks good. And I should be able to, with confidence, release that to flow out into my paintings and stop this silly second guessing of whether or not I have an ability to create a good design. I have taste. I know what I like. I chase those things that get me excited in my painting, and all of that second guessing or feeling like I don't really know takes away my confidence and leaves me unable to trust and paint with that freedom that I really want to paint with. So my lesson this week, I think, is be very careful about when you post your work on social media. If you're in the middle of a series and somebody's questioning your design choices, is going to feel like it's knocking the leg of your tripod out from under you. Two-legged tripods don't stand very well. If that is the case, step back, have that quiet space in your studio to develop your work, to know how you feel about it, and then come from there to share with the world. And second of all, challenge some of those keywords that artists use, those fancy words. If they're talking about design and composition, you can say, I do know what I like. I know what I want to share. I'm excited to share it. And my point of view gets to be valid. That's the beauty of art, is we are not all painting the same thing. Art is not made that way. We're supposed to be diverse and different, and every painting have something new to share. And we do get the freedom to do that and to, believe in what we're doing. And yeah, I'm excited to carry that with me this week. I ended up painting 3 very different waterfall paintings, and there's beauty and something to enjoy in each one of them, and I don't have to decide which one is the best. And if I get a secret little thrill from the shapes and colors and brushstrokes in those paintings, then from a design perspective, I'm writing the book and I say thumbs up.